This week I saw that Skip Bayless is going back on First Take to debate Stephen A. Smith. A sign of the apocalypse if I've ever seen one. But it got me thinking. We are now coming up on an extremely important part of the sports media calendar, and as an avid sports media consumer, I'm leaning forward in my seat to see what the various studios and outlets I'm loyal to have planned for this run of NBA and NHL playoffs, World Cup, tennis tournaments, baseball, whatever the NFL throws our way this summer, and much more to come. Despite what you might think, it isn't all completely horrible. So with that in mind, let's call this my Sports Media State of the Union address. First, we're now around a year of the NFL owning a 10% stake in ESPN. And I want to start here because this is something to reflect on, but also to remind everybody of. The NFL, the most dominant entertainment product in the country, owns 10% of the most dominant sports media outlet in the country. Just keep it in mind. It comes through in very subtle ways. Adam Schefter is now more of the league's mouthpiece than ever before. As a matter of fact, his Twitter account is basically just NFL and ESPN PR. When Goodell wants something addressed, he goes on the ESPN airwaves, like he did during the NFL draft to talk Rossini-Vrabel. And on that note, the biggest scandal in sports media, in a while at least, is the Diana Rossini-Mike Vrabel situation. And again, I'm not going to recap it here, that's not really for me to do. But it's really odd, the amount of people demanding media outlets talk about something that, for once, belongs in the tabloids and TMZ, and not on linear television and print media. I think for most people, this scandal is just some entertaining gossip, and that's fine. For me, I hope it marks some regression in what I'm going to call insiderism in sports, where we have these people trading scoops for favors and the like. Despite the destruction of the Washington Post sports section this year, we need some actual journalism in sports media. I hope the scandal is a wake-up call in the sense that it shows when things got too far in the sourcing game. But chances are this will be deemed a simple one-off anomaly and life will go on. But speaking of real sports journalism, Pablo Torre finds out won a Pulitzer. This isn't just some best sports journalism category either. This is across-the-board reporting in the audio space was this award, and Pablo Torre finds out has been honored as one of the best in the game thanks to their investigation into aspiration and Steve Ballmer circumventing the salary cap. The biggest win here is that the show got an award it no doubt deserves. It's really the amount of people they've gotten to care about their investigations in the past year. It's a well-deployed tactic by Torre and his crew to reel people in with their fun investigations like Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson, and when that audience is established, bring the real stuff to the people who need to see it. Now for a word on the best show on sports TV. The Sports Emmys happened later this year, and there was one first-time nominee, the nominees came out about a month ago, that caught my eye, and hopefully yours too. First things first, FS1's afternoon show with Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, and Kevin Wildes was recognized for their achievements for the first time by the Academy, or whoever votes on these things. Simply put, this has been the best, most fun, entertaining sports television show since they moved to a full-time studio in 2023. It is sports debate without the Skip Bayless toxicity of it all, you see, like everywhere else. It is bits on top of bits, riffing on other bits. It has its own sense of humor, its own language pretty much, but it still would be familiar and welcoming to a first-time viewer. It also spits in the face of the super team philosophy of sports talk shows, where we get a lot of big names together and draw people purely on name recognition. This is a show where chemistry is the star, and as a result, it's more solid than oak. I hope they bring home that hardware, but it's just nice to see this show get some kind of validation. The NBA took on some new broadcasting partners this year. A major story going into the NBA season, not concerning the product on the court, was these new broadcasters. NBC, picking up from where they left off in the 90s, and Amazon. They both started the season with a ton of momentum and energy, but as the season progressed, or should I say regressed, into a woeful regular season product, not the network's fault, but people soured on the new partners a little bit. Playoffs have highlighted the technical issues that Amazon has been dealing with all season. A major factor in streaming people should keep in mind when watching sports, or a movie, or a show for that matter. Streaming is just a lower quality medium than cable or physical media in the case of movies and TV. But Amazon's studio show has actually been a big hit. Taylor Rooks is a natural as the show's host, and Blake Griffin, I think, in my mind, is a star in this game already. I don't know how someone can actually be so tall, handsome, funny, and athletic all in one. It's really not fair. On the NBC side, it's been a lot of 90s nostalgia this season, bringing in Bob Costas for cold opens, 90s graphics and music, etc. The Michael Jordan insights into Excellent was, frankly, a farce, but NBC's strategy of deploying Austin Rivers and Robbie Hummel behind the benches of the two teams during a game has made for some very interesting television, and I think both of those guys are rising stars in NBA media. It will be interesting to see how reliant NBC is on nostalgia going forward. We also now have a different version of ESPN NBA coverage, and I'm not sure if either side is enjoying it. ESPN absorbed Inside the NBA this year after Turner failed to maintain NBA TV rights, losing to NBC. RIP Ted Turner, by the way, legend. Inside is widely regarded as one of, if not the greatest sports studio show of all time, and this year has been airing sparingly. There's a lot of ESPN programming out there, and people have seemed to sour on Inside in the past year as well. However, as always, the playoffs will be its proving ground. Old Inside the NBA clips go re-viral this time every year because the guys are back in our lives. The most recent Gone Fishing segment showed they still have their fastball in Studio J.
You guys are fishing. I see our buddy Bill Simmons in there, John Krasinski, Mark Wahlberg.
I don't know. Stop it. I don't. That on purpose.
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon on there, Tatum and Brown.
Why this last one, underdog?
And my final note here, more so in the digital game, is The Ringer going the ESPN route of about 3 years ago. About 3 years ago, ESPN had mass layoffs as they essentially cleared out cap space to bring in big names to build the future of the network around. They fired some very talented people with decades of industry experience and confirmed their identity around The Pat McAfee Show and First Take, which has since become increasingly more just the Stephen A. Smith Show. Side note, if you haven't gone into the ESPN radio archives for some old school Stephen A. Smith Show radio episodes, I highly recommend it. That was Stephen A. at his absolute apex.
I don't think all hope is lost with the Knicks, because I think you're forgetting that Carmelo Anthony not signed with the team right now. So, if they
go to hell. Go to hell. Bye.
Almost a good call, but we do not shoot that shot.
I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. You okay? You sound like you've been drinking this early in the morning, bro.
Nah, I only smoke.
You sound a little
weed,
bit slurred in your speech.
It's legal in
You don't
DC.
sound like you straight. I don't understand you.
Weed is legal in D.C.
I got you. Have a nice day.
I'm tired of suffering.
Nico, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A., I'm on break room right now. Where the hoes at?
Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Anyway, Bill Simmons' The Ringer has gone through some similar changes in the past year. They let go a good chunk of their editorial staff in early 2026 after signing on some big personalities in the past year. Max Kellerman at Rich Paul's new show, Game Over, as well as Zach Lowe, who is essentially replacing Ryan Russillo, who left for Barstool Sports. And speaking of Russillo, his departure also led to what their kids are calling a re-apex of the Bill Simmons podcast. He's really just landed some bigger guests and brought back the mailbag. The Russillo pod is pretty much the same over at Barstool, but I miss the Sunday nights for sure. Along with Barstool, The Ringer also struck a deal with Netflix for their video podcast rights. As an observer and a general Ringer enjoyer, I feel like they've been really killing it in the movie space for the past year and a half or so with, the big picture, the rewatchables and stuff, which makes sense because The Ringer and Grantland before it, Simmons' original website, were meant to be websites where people could read about sports, but also culture and entertainment and that kind of thing. So it fits the bill that they're a little more multifaceted than just the sports tunnel vision. But I guess that dominance in the movie space wasn't really showing up in their page views, hence the layoffs. Anyway, a little ironic that The Ringer, founded by a cast-off ESPNer in Bill Simmons, who built it through the vision that they couldn't see in Bristol, is enduring similar problems and showing similar tendencies in the marketplace. Finally, also, I guess Barstool Sports is relevant to this conversation too. I don't really know what there is to say about Barstool. Pardon My Take still runs the sports podcast game. Russillo was a huge get. Everything else, I gotta say, feels secondary. Spittin' Chicklets runs the hockey world, that too. They have a morning show on FS1 now, and I have heard very little about it. But they're in the linear game, so I guess that's important. That's all I have on this for the time being. If there's one story that I think is worth noting going forward, it's the backlash towards mass gambling partnerships in sports media as a result of the inevitable scandals that have popped up, most recently in college football with Brandon Sorsby. I think that's going to be a major topic going forward. I'll be interested to see what the counter is to those. Until then, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel and to Backman Sports while you're at it. We're going to drop quite a few pods for this Sixers-Knicks series that are not to be missed. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.